When going somewhere special, do you dress the way you are now? Do you wear your hair just the way it is today? Look into the mirror. Do you leave your face undone? I highly doubt it. In the same way you enhance your appearance when you are going somewhere special, and each part of your outfit has a special purpose, writers use literary devices to enhance their writing, and each device has a special purpose or effect. Part of your job as students is to identify the effectiveness of literary devices. So, pay attention while we use a three-step approach for identifying the effectiveness of three devices. I have found that students know something about devices at this level, but the problem comes when they are asked to comment on their effectiveness. Students are often confused when asked to write about the effectiveness of devices. This lesson will help you to respond more accurately to three commonly used devices. I am sure you would have encountered them in the past, but today we will use a three-step approach for responding to these and any other device. These three devices are simile, metaphor, and personification. It would be best if you remember that all three of these devices are used for making comparisons. Therefore, it will be helpful to ask yourself or the person next to you, why do we compare things? Yes, go ahead. Ask them. Why do we compare things? Think about it. We might compare to see a difference. We might compare to highlight similarities. We might compare to make an abstract idea concrete, or maybe for other reasons you were told by the person next to you. The answers to that question are important because they will help us to identify the special effects of devices. Before we get to the effectiveness of devices, it is important to do two other things. Firstly, you have to identify the device. And secondly, you have to justify the device by stating why it is what you say it is. Now, when those two steps are completed, you then briefly discuss the effectiveness of the device. The simile. A simile compares two essentially different things. The two share at least one similarity between them. The comparison is presented directly through the use of like or as. Similes contribute to the meaning and clarity of writing by helping readers or listeners to visualize the comparison in a new and vivid way. Major special effects of simile include comparing two things, appealing to our imagination, adding pictorial elements, evoking association, and reinforcing meaning. Ask yourself, does it present the idea in a new and interesting way to readers or listeners? Does it help readers or listeners to visualize the comparison? Does it evoke feeling or thought? Does it capture the emotion of the reader or listener? Here is an example of a simile. Like a strong tree in the virgin earth sends far its roots through rocks and loam and clay, and probably thrives in rain or time of death, so will I live in rich imperial growth. In following the three-step approach for responding to this simile, firstly, we know that this is a simile. Secondly, in justifying that this is indeed simile, we would have to point out that the writer compares a person with a strong tree using like. The comparison is built on the tree's main similarities. Then, for a brief discussion on the special effects of this simile, we can relate that the poet is strong-willed and seeks a variety of experiences in the same way the tree lives proudly and expands its reach, as evident with the phrase, proudly thrives. Or we can relate that it is similar to a person who wishes to explore things deeply and experience growth, as evident with the phrase, depth of things. This simile appeals to the visual sense. Using familiar images, it helps to evoke thought and compels readers' attention. This simile clarifies meaning. The metaphor. A metaphor is based on the point of similarity between two things that are essentially unlike. Whereas the simile makes a comparison direct and explicit by using as or like, the metaphor says that one thing is another. The comparison is unspoken in the metaphor. Some special effects of metaphors are that they illuminate ideas, they arouse imagination, they help us to perceive meaning directly beyond the literal level, they appeal to the senses and present ideas in concrete form through word pictures. Further, to determine the effectiveness of the metaphor, you can ask yourself these questions. Do the two things share a point or points of similarities? Does the metaphor assist the reader or listener to discover similarity or similarities? Does it add to the clarity of the poem or prose? Does it contribute to the meaning of the poem or prose? Does it help the reader or listener to visualize what it conveys? Is it new and interesting? Or does it capture the attention of the reader or listener? Here is an example. Beneath the vast cathedral of sky, with the sun for steeple evangling with laughter, go the shining ones, the little people. Step 1. What is the metaphor here? The metaphor is the cathedral of sky. Step 2. The sky is compared with the cathedral. And step 3. Through this metaphor, we understand the great size of the cathedral, the arched shape of the cathedral, and the idea that the cathedral provides covering for its congregation. This metaphor has powerful visual appeal. And now for the personification. Personification is a literary device that presents an inanimate object, idea, or concept as though it were a person with human quality and feelings. In other words, a thing or object is given a human characteristic because of some similarity between the thing and the person. The special effect of personification includes making a comparison, appealing to our imagination, adding a pictorial element, evoking association, and reinforcing meaning. To determine the appropriateness or effectiveness of personification, you can ask, what does the device add to the poem? Is it clear to the reader or listener? Does it present a striking comparison? Is it vivid, original, and interesting? Here is an example. Swiftly comes the night, and now have her bare feet touch the dim terraced roof. Remember, the three-step approach is to identify, justify, and discuss effectiveness. Step 1. We know that this is personification. Step 2. The human qualities of touch and movement are given to the night. And step 3. We understand from this personification that night has come swiftly and descended on the dim terraced roof. Just as human feet touch the ground, the night has touched the roof. This personification brings the scene to life. The images are direct and concrete. Copy and complete. Until we meet again. And if the means allow, rewatch, like, and share the video.